Hello, everyone. Ex-Wallkill Bethelite here. And I'd like to talk about a topic. And this topic is Watchtower or the Cult of Jehovah's Witnesses, the Watchtower group, calling the people who leave that cult apostates. I want to talk about that because this is something that they've done for such a long time that I think people just believe it without even looking into the definition of the term to see if they're accurate. And Jehovah's Witnesses and the governing body in specific, the governing body, the group that leads the cult, they're the ones that's been pushing this lie that we, the people who speak out about the wrongdoing that go on inside the cult, the false teachings that they teach that we're apostates. That's factually wrong. It's factually wrong. We can look at the definition and it's factually wrong. An apostate is a person who leaves a particular religious belief or political belief or principle. And the definition that I looked up used an example like a person who left the faith, they were apostate until they returned back to the faith, such as a person who used to be a Roman Catholic. Those are some of the examples used in the dictionary. But the dictionary was not, I'm sure, aware of Jehovah's Witnesses. Otherwise, they would have used them instead of the Roman Catholic Church. We're not apostate based off of that definition. Because when I got baptized, and this might be true for a lot of you guys out there, when I got baptized, the organization, the teachings, the Jehovah's Witness cult was completely different. When I got baptized, we believed that the generation of 1914 would not pass away before the end of the system. When I got baptized, we believed that Watchtower, the organization that pretty much controls the group called Jehovah's Witnesses, the organization that thought up the name Jehovah's Witnesses, we believe that Watchtower was God's one and only true channel. Already, I'm giving you beliefs that have completely changed. The concept that the generation of 1914 would not pass away before we saw the end of the world that Jehovah's Witnesses have been teaching about for so long, they got that completely wrong. They had to completely change that. The teaching that Watchtower was God's one and only channel, that was changed when a governing body member came out and said, hey, we are not infallible, and we're not even inspired. Well, if you're not inspired, then you're not the channel. You're not God's mouthpiece. Because in order to be God's mouthpiece, there would have to be some direct inspiration from God, which would then make the person essentially infallible because God cannot get his own teachings wrong. So when the organization itself changed, I can no longer be an apostate. The organization is the one that left its teachings, the teachings that I made the baptismal agreements under, right? It's a matter of who broke the contract, either me or them. If I sign a contract And the contract states that I'm going to be making $30 an hour starting off, and I'm going to start on such and such a date. And then I go to my employer and I say, okay, I'm ready to start. And the employer says, well, you'll be making $14 an hour. And I say, wait a minute, I've got a contract here and it states $30 an hour and that I'll be starting on such and such a date, which is today. I should be making $30 an hour. And they say, well, no, we've changed that. You'll be making $14 an hour. And I say, well, wait a minute. That's a major change. I need to look at some other job options. If you're dropping the pay to that extreme of a degree, you breached the contract. And then they look at me and say, no, if you leave this job, you are the one that has abandoned your job, and that's going to look bad on your record. They would call that person, unreliable. Well, the obvious person at fault is the one who broke the agreement first, which in my case is Watchtower. I cannot be an apostate. I cannot leave a faith or a belief or principle that does not exist. So the religion that I joined, the religion that I got baptized into, that religion was God's mouthpiece. It was God's only channel. It told me that the end of I can bank on the end of the world coming before the generation of 1914 getting here. It's also a religion that never told me about the 1975 date prediction debacle. Now, they were very aware that they had given a false date for the end of the world, a false prediction. But when you sit down with elders, and back in the day, I was going over the OM book, I believe it was, the Organized to Accomplish Your Ministry book. When you're going over those questions, none of them sit down and tell you, by the way, we want to make sure you're fully aware there were some false predictions. Let's discuss this now so that you don't find out these things after we do this agreement. See, you can look at that as being dishonest. There's no way, it's from the definition of the term, it's impossible for me to leave a belief that no longer exists. The belief I got baptized into has changed, and I can't go back to it. I can't go back to a religion where I had 100% faith or 100% confidence that everything they taught was true because they were God's mouthpiece. And they told me all this after I made the agreement. Because you could say, wait a minute, Marcus, wait a minute. If you were aware of all of this before making this agreement, before being baptized, well, then you'd still be held to that particular religion, because when you got baptized, you knew their teachings changed all the time. Well, no, I did not know that. No, most of you did not know that. It's interesting that Jehovah's Witnesses even use the term, because in the definition, the dictionary uses the Catholic Church as an example. Now, if the Pope, the Pope of Rome, the Vicar of Christ, if the Catholic Pope were to come out and say, I am not capable of being infallible, it would result in a massive group of people leaving. And I guarantee you the Catholic Church could not call those people leaving apostates. They didn't leave the faith. You changed the faith. You changed the faith that they were a part of. It don't exist no more. The faith that they were a part of, that they joined, stated that when the Pope speaks, when the Pope is teaching, he cannot be wrong. That's part of the Catholic faith. Part of the Catholic faith is that the faith cannot be wrong and the faith doesn't change. So that's the agreement that all those people were baptized under. That's the faith. When it's talking about in the definition, a person under a specific set of beliefs or principles, those were the beliefs or principles. That the Pope was over the whole church and that the Pope can not err when he is teaching. If he comes out and says none of that's true, that don't even exist, you can't be an apostate from a belief that don't exist. So when the Jehovah's Witnesses, when Watchtower essentially decided to not tell the people who were getting baptized that they had made false predictions and made false predictions repetitively. They chose not to tell people, oh yeah, by the way, Rutherford, one of the presidents of the Watchtower, went and bought a mansion and told everybody that the mansion was for everybody that's dead in the Bible, that was mentioned in the Bible that are no longer living, for them to be resurrected and have a nice place to live. And all that was false. They chose to hide from us all the falsehoods that they've been teaching for so long. So we weren't aware that teachings in the past had changed. The only thing we know is that those teachings, once we got baptized, were supposed to be solid. This is what we believe, and this is what we're going to believe. That's what that is when a person gets baptized. A person don't get baptized into a faith that changes every other day. That does not happen. So the whole definition of the word apostate cannot apply to a person who the faith actually changed. Major teachings changed. I know people who are Church of God or Church of Christ. And I've been told that there was a split in the church because there were some people who believed that it's okay to use all kinds of musical instruments and electronic musical devices to amplify the music in church. And there are some people from the same church that believe, well, no, if the Bible does not state to use such and such an electronic device in church to play music on, then we're not using it. We're only using what's in the Bible. Well, there was a split, and this is a small thing in my opinion. Can you imagine if some of the core teachings of that particular church changed? Well, then you would have a major split and everybody would understand that you didn't leave the faith. The faith changed. The teachings changed. The entire church changed. If they were to change all the teachings and beliefs and principles, if the Baptist church turned around and all of a sudden stated that they believe that people, think of a major change here, that Jesus wasn't a real person, for example. They just turn around and say they don't believe Jesus was a real person. And that's what they're going to start teaching from now on. Everybody would be leaving that church. Some people would stay, but then everybody would be leaving because, wait a minute, you done changed the whole faith. You done pulled the rug off from up under us. And none of the people that remain Baptists would call the people who left apostates, because it would literally be foolish to do so. The only people, there's one group of people who first change teachings, major teachings. They start changing them. They start changing the way they do everything. They just changed the hour requirement and essentially got rid of what was a regular pioneer and lowered the requirement to what's an auxiliary part. They are constantly changing not just minor things and procedures, but major teachings. They can't get nothing right. They can't make up their mind as to what the faith is for a Jehovah's Witness. So you can't leave something that was never there. You can't leave something that doesn't exist anymore. So by definition, we're not apostate. We're not apostate. The watchtower we were a part of don't exist anymore. The watchtower we were a part of left the premises. We can't not be an apostate. I would challenge any elder to debate me on how a person can leave a faith or a teaching that the religion no longer even has. That's a major turn of events when a group of people are and we know that they're, if Jehovah's Witnesses say, oh no, we never taught that we were God's mouthpiece. We never taught that we were the one and only true organization. We never taught that we were God's actual channel to earth. Well, why do they call it the truth then? Right? That's a term that carried over from the early days of the organization that they just never changed. Right? But the organization as it is today, the term, the truth, no longer makes sense. That term referred to what I got baptized into. I got baptized into the concept or belief that everything we taught was the truth, and we knew it was the truth because we were God's channel. We were God's mouthpiece. We can't get it wrong. That's what I was baptized into. As far as the particular group, Jehovah's Witnesses, they no longer have a faith like that. They no longer have the faith that I was a part of when I got baptized. So they voided that baptism. I can't be baptized into something that don't exist anymore. And they can't go and change the whole religion and say, yeah, well, now you're baptized into this. You're baptized into whatever in the world we say, whenever in the world we say it. It doesn't work like that. Watchtower, the governing body, because they kept changing, they changed the entire religion we were a part of when we got baptized. They voided the contract. If anybody is an apostate, a person who left a former principle or set of beliefs, It's the governing body. They're the ones that changed. They're the ones that changed. They're the ones that no longer believe what was taught when we got baptized. So in my case, and in a lot of other people's cases, they got baptized under a certain understanding, a certain agreement, and a certain expectation. And once Jehovah's Witnesses, once Watchtower, once the governing body screwed up, messed up all those teachings and messed up that expectation, they're the ones responsible, not us. They can't turn around and call us apostate because they're the ones that got their teachings wrong. Isn't that deflection? That's the definition of the term deflection. You're screwing up, so you want to blame us because you got your teachings wrong over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. No, you want to blame us because you allowed pedophiles to operate inside the organization without reporting them to the police for so long that it became a huge issue. No, we were under the impression that nothing like that would be allowed to go on in Jehovah's organization, the one true channel, the truth. That's what we got baptized into. And then Watchtower changed on us. Now, this is a concept that was not even thought of when they made the definition, because the Catholic Church, the whole concept is that it's a rock. It's stable. It's not going to change. So if a person was a Catholic and is no longer a Catholic, they consider that an apostate because the person must have left the faith because the faith doesn't change. That don't apply to Jehovah's Witnesses because Watchtower is so screwed up. It's the faith that changed. And then the person is left with a religion that they never agreed to. Y'all done changed the whole religion. I never agreed to this. You didn't ask me if it's okay first before you start changing and flip-flopping all these teachings. And now all of a sudden you're not the truth because you're not infallible and you get everything wrong all the time. They still like to use the term the truth, though, even though it's blatantly obviously false. They're the ones that said it was false. But you can't blame me for that. Only Jehovah's Witnesses are uneducated enough to believe that they literally got the entire religion wrong and then decided to change it to something else, but we're the ones that are apostates. No. If the uneducated governing body members learned how to read a dictionary, in order to be an apostate, we would have to leave an unchanged faith. We would have to leave the faith. Not a whole bunch of uneducated people who used to be in the military or janitors or cleaning up people's garages or whatever in the world Samuel Hurd used to do. Not groups of people like that who are uneducated getting everything wrong and they never had an established faith for us to leave. So comment down below, let me know what you think. But again, I would debate anybody. I would debate any elder. I would debate a governing body member. Tell Tony Morris to sober up so he can debate me on whether or not a person can leave a religion, a faith that no longer exists because it was a doomsday cult that just got everything wrong. It's impossible. It's impossible to leave something that don't exist. So comment down below. Let me know what you think. But we can't be apostates. We can't. The only people that could be apostate is a person who gets baptized knowing all those things, and they agree anyway. They get baptized anyway. That's like a person getting married to somebody. And I'll give this one last example. That's like a person getting married to a person. And then after the wedding day, the person, you go to your honeymoon, and the woman takes off her wig. Husband didn't know it was a wig. Then the woman takes off her fake eyebrows. Husband didn't know they were fake. All bald up here. The woman then takes off some of her teeth. Husband didn't know that the teeth were fake. Now, this may not necessarily be enough to break the marriage agreement, but then the woman tells the husband she's not actually a woman. She's actually a man. She used to be a woman, but she transitioned into a man, and she went back to attract him. Like that, you're no longer the person who I made the agreement with on the altar. I made the agreement to marry Mrs. Vaughn. I did not make no agreement to marry Mr. Vaughn. It is definitely possible for a person to completely void a contract agreement by being completely and utterly different from what the person agreed to join with. So I don't know too many former Jehovah's Witnesses. We almost can't even be former Jehovah's Witnesses, because the Jehovah's Witness group they just kept the name, but they changed the whole religion. All the stuff they got wrong, so they just changed the whole religion and kept the name. The Jehovah's Witnesses we joined don't even exist anymore. We can't be apostate. It's impossible. We got baptized under the understanding that we were being taught the truth. They even called it the truth, so they can't lie and say that wasn't the understanding. They even call it the truth. We did not get baptized into the fake, or we didn't get baptized into the false, or we didn't get baptized into the lie. If we'd have known that, we'd have never got baptized to begin with. Watchtower understands that. They're wrong when they call us apostates, when they're the ones that changed the entire religion. So comment down below. Let me know what you think. 937-789-4029. We'll discuss it. X Wallkill Bethelite signing out.